It's getting ready. All right, we're live and streaming.
We're live.
Welcome to the MAGAMind Podcast. I'm Brian Ference. You can follow me on X at BrianFerence1. With me is James Richard. You can follow him on X at Sir Runcible Spoon. Today we're going to be talking about the Epstein file Phase 1 release, or lack of release, the Canada tariffs, Senator Ruben Gallego smurfing, and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors meeting. So let's dive into the podcast here. All right, and we are back. So let's get into our first topic. So James, tell me first of all your reaction to the Epstein files Phase 1 release.
Well, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, those things are so redacted, they can't even tell if Jeffrey Epstein's been to Epstein's Island. And then I realized that after listening to several other people that those are the same files that have been already released. They're just redacted versions of stuff that was released under Biden, and so they're really nothing new.
That's exactly right. So let me share the screen here.
Yeah, you got a video on this.
Yeah, we got video too. So there's a couple things. This first one is just talking about the Phase 1 release, in case any of our viewers are not aware. Probably everyone is. But
what can you tell us?
Yes, indeed, and I've been so pleased that A.G. Bondi and Director Patel have worked with me on this. As she said, we have to make certain that these victims, and it is over 250, that their names are redacted, they are protected. And Maria, this is going to be a Phase 1 release in short order. I will have the hard copy in my hand. A.G. Bondi is responsible for what will be the public release on this. She has worked diligently on this, and so appreciative that we can begin to get this information, that we can begin to break apart what became a global human trafficking, sex trafficking ring, about $150 billion a year business. It is time to get some justice for these victims, for these women and children, and this will be a Phase 1 release. There will be more to come.
That is, Senator, you said you're going to...
All right. So they're talking about it's a Phase 1 release. I did actually review the files. There's a couple more things I'm going to show on this. Let's see. So first of all, this is kind of a well-known photo here. This is the social media influencers that they brought to the White House, and they're holding up binders, and it says, the Epstein files Phase 1, and they're all smiles and laughing, and what's your first reaction to this photo?
It's all show. It's just another song and dance that they're putting out there. It's the same old stuff. If everybody, if you really think about what's going on, it's like, do you trust Trump? No, I don't. Did I vote for Trump? Yes. Do I trust him? No, I don't trust him.
Why is that? Why don't you trust Trump?
He's the president. He's in politics. He's in the government. I mean, come on, really?
Well,
it's if anything related to the government. Do you trust the government? No.
Well, that's a good point. So as I do trust President Trump on, I would say, 99% of things. There are some things that I don't, like his stance on the COVID-19 vaccine, for example. But you make a good point about the overall trust of government. And what we saw here was Pam Bondi saying that, we're going to release these files. It's going to be big, Phase 1. And then I personally reviewed those files, but what I found was it was all the already publicly released flight logs, pages and pages of it, which were publicly released, and then everything else was redacted. There was just pages and pages and pages of redaction. I think I have, I do have some photos of that, but it's really a nothing burger. I mean, there's no new information in there. So this photo of the influencers, holding up their binders, and then they made all these posts. They got millions of views, but nothing happened from it. Nothing came of it. So that's a good example of why trusting the government sometimes is not a good idea. I'm also showing, this is a letter from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and it says, okay, well, the reason I didn't release anything is the FBI is withholding some documents from the Department of Justice. And I think it's the SDNY branch of the FBI. So here's this letter, and she said, we're going to get this, and, it's their fault that we couldn't release it. But another social media influencer, Laura Loomer, said, if you want to make excuses for people who lied about the obscene files and took selfies today while holding a list of pedophile names as they played gatekeeper with the victims, be my guest. That's an interesting comment because it talks about, these social media influencers, they were acting very disrespectful towards the victims, including DC Drano. There's just the fact that Scott Presler was there is an affront to the victims, and they should be outraged by that. Let's go into that in just a minute, but also on the screen I have, this is from FBI Director Kash Patel, and he's responding, he's saying, if there's any gaps in the Epstein investigation, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything to the Department of Justice. Mic drop. So, I like that. I agree with it as long as it happens, as long as it actually happens.
But we do have,
go ahead.
We do have one thing that, you got to realize, when was Pam Bondi actually put in charge
Of the Department of Justice?
Yeah,
she was confirmed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, 3 weeks ago, something like that.
I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever started a new job and been able to just jump on the bandwagon and just keep and start running down the street when your job? She just barely got started. We have to give her a break, but this I don't think was good. I don't think that they should have released this now. They should have had actually something with some substance behind it. They should have delayed and said, we've got a problem. And we don't have the actual information yet. We should delay this and get out the right stuff. I do like the fact that they're trying to be transparent, but,
Well, I don't think using these social media influencers was the way to do that. And
I do not think that's
as an example, let's see, let's go to this other one. So here in this photo, of course, DC Drano was the most famous one. He was holding the binder up. But this is a post. This is a post from Leah Hoops, and she says, "What in the literal F is this? What MF qualifications does Scott Presler have to be looking at this binder? This is absolutely disgusting. This information belongs to the people, period, not a gatekeeper social media influencer who won't even talk about the fraud of the 2020 election. This has Jack Posobiec all over it." So that's interesting that she mentions both Scott Presler, Jack Posobiec, and then, of course, DC Drano, who are really all very, very closely tied to Turning Point. It's a very interesting connection. Scott Presler, his early action app that he has was developed by a Turning Point created company, Superfeed Technologies Incorporated, which of course Turning Point Action Chief Operating Officer Tyler Boyer is the CEO of that, and also he's the chair of the board of Superfeed. So they make Turning Point's app, they make Scott Presler's app. Scott Presler was all in for Turning Point ballot chasing, all over their socials. So you have what appears to be social media influencers, a select group, and they all have Turning Point ties. And in terms of DC Drano, he's actually featured as an influencer on the Turning Point website. I don't know if I have a screenshot of that, but I did ask Grok3 rather, who are all the social media influencers that were there. And according to Grok3 and the photos and reports and social media, there was 15 social media influencers that were invited to the White House, only 15. One of them was Jack Posobiec. The second one was DC Drano, whose real name is Rogan O'Handley. Libs of TikTok, who is Chaya Rychik. Liz Wheeler, Mike Cernovich, Chad Prather, Scott Pressler, of course, Jessica Reed, and Alex LaRusso, and then Savannah Hernandez. And the interesting thing about Savannah Hernandez is that she's actually a contributor for Turning Point USA, regularly produces content for their platforms and events. Her role with TPUSA is well documented. So that appears to be the connection and why we had those specific influencers invited. They had this nothing burger list, and they pumped it and all this stuff. It seems like a huge hoax almost. It's what do you think?
I agree. It's all just fanfare, and it's definitely a show. It's all just a show. It's all scripted. Everything was scripted. And what I find is really, I find it was actually kind of insulting is when all of these influencers were out there, like dancing around with their little notebooks, smiles and dancing. I was like, that's not very good respect for this whole thing. They should be at least a little more solemn, a little more caring about the people that were involved in this,
right.
The victims. I mean, there was, they have 250 that they have listed. That's what I've heard is 250, but I thought there was thousands.
Well, it's not clear because they're hiding evidence. The FBI, when they seized some of the evidence, there's photos of all these CDs and recordings and tapes. Where are those tapes? They were in the FBI possession. I haven't seen any mention of that for years. There's supposedly video recordings, audio recordings.
Well, one place that I have heard, they had a diesel truck, like a 18-wheeler, full of materials, like photos, hard drives, a diesel truck full of hard drives.
Wow.
And there was more than one, is what I heard it on X someplace. I should be making notes of these so I could pass it to you so we can bring this up. But the problem with that specific one that I was listening to is it talks about things that we can't talk about.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. But since you mentioned the diesel trucks and the evidence, I also heard that one of Epstein's mansions, I believe it's his Florida mansion, they made sure to bulldoze that real quick. It was purchased by some millionaire. They bulldozed it, potentially destroying evidence.
Potentially.
Well, I mean, who
destroyed evidence?
Yeah, they destroyed evidence, and rebuilt a new mansion, all sealed up and clean. So let's get rid of that evidence right away. Almost like the way they cremated the bodies of the Trump assassins, the attempted assassins. Yeah, I mean, they cremated those bodies so fast.
Really fast. It's also really strange how, in L.A. there's a lot of people that are associated with, the Epstein files, and their houses mysteriously burnt down to the ground.
Well,
so maybe if there was any evidence in their house, it's gone.
So do you think all these tapes and recordings, do you think that the FBI destroyed the tapes and evidence? Do you think they sold them back to the people that are on the tapes, or they're using it to blackmail them?
Yeah, they're using it to blackmail
them.
And those tapes do exist, and they're not in America.
Well, could that be a possible reason why this Phase 1 release was bungled so much? I mean, is there still an attempt to allow these millionaires and leaders of other countries that are on these lists to buy their way out or to blackmail them into cooperation into something?
Well, only thing my opinion is it's all evil. It's all evil oriented. The evil people have this information, and they're specifically doing things to subvert the United States and subvert basically God and all religions. Mm-hmm. The only religions that are allowed to exist are the ones that don't value life. Like Muslims don't value life, and Judaism does not value life.
Oh, you're gonna get us in trouble with that one. Some of your comments, bring up a larger issue about, what is allowed for religions to do. What do the governments want? Of course, under the rule of any communist government, they want the government to be the religion. So that they want to exterminate all the religions. The government's the religion. The leader of the government is, God's representative on earth, the ordained one, all that stuff. But I don't know. It's the problem that I've been having lately with a lot of the churches. For example, the Catholic Church and the Pope, which we talked about on our previous episode, they're getting way into politics, globalism, encouraging immigration. We mentioned the U.S. Council of Bishops is suing Trump over his immigration policies. This is not what an organized church should be doing. They shouldn't be doing any of these things.
Not be doing any of these things.
And all those churches, every religion church. I mean, there's libertarians, Episcopalian, non-denominational Christians, many other religions. They all have these NGOs. They were all getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars by the government to traffic children, to traffic illegals. So much fraud and corruption going on there. And that's what's going on with the churches in our world. And they're working with the government. And they should be pushing back against the government.
I agree. And what it really appears is so that within our society that we have, it's the world society, is that we value money more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Money and power.
Well, money is power. Power is money.
Right.
So that's what they value, is money. And if you have money, you have power, and you have power over other people. Mm-hmm. And so even the church, you're dating back, 1,000 years, what did they want? Money. I mean, don't go out of your house without giving 10% to the church.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'd like to see is, in the same way we've had this at least attempted reformation of the government. I mean, we've got Trump in there. We've got all these three-letter agencies that had these corrupt, leftist leadership. Now that's all been replaced. Hopefully good things are going to happen. I pray that it will. That reformation needs to happen in the churches as well. Mm-hmm. I pray that a good religious Jesus Christ follower pope is going to be elected in the papal office. Well, it's an election process, but I'm concerned because one of the things Pope Francis did was he made sure there was all these leftist cardinals in the Council of Cardinals, and so there's not a very good pool to pick from. So it's going to take a miracle, but I think it can happen, and I think it should. And I really do hope that Pam Bondi is going to deliver, that Kash Patel is going to deliver. I think Donald Trump has been delivering on some things, and he needs to continue to deliver along with Doge. So there's a lot of good things. Before we transition to our next topic, I want to say hello to we've got 27 viewers on X right now. I'm not sure how many on Rumble, but if you just joined the show, this is the MAGAMind Podcast. I'm Brian Ference. You can follow me at Brian Ference1 on X, and James Richard. Follow him at Sir Runcible Spoon on X. Our next topic that we're going to discuss, let me show the screen here again. we are going to talk just a little bit about the tariffs, the Canadian tariffs. We covered it a little bit on our previous show. So this is a post from Liz Churchill. She says, Canada will be hit with the tariffs on March 4th. That's coming up. I think it's a 10% tariff. All leading political parties in Canada are refusing to close the border. So if you recall, Trudeau and their parliament agreed to put a pause on the tariffs for, I think it was 30 days, on the condition that they police their border, stop the flow of fentanyl, stop the flow of illegals through Canada, a couple other things. So Liz Churchill says they're refusing to do this because the Liberals, the Conservatives, and the NDP are owned by the cartels. So she's making a cartel connection, which, as we know, in Arizona, the cartels run everything. We have a fake governor, Katie Hobbs, who's run by the cartels. Basically, a lot of the leadership in Arizona. So we know all about that. They're taking massive financial kickbacks. So she alleges that all the leadership in Canada is taking kickbacks from the cartels, which we know is happening in Arizona as well, particularly in the legislature, particularly through real estate dealings, particularly through falsified deeds of trust.
Yes. We can go into that.
We can go into that too.
I don't know. Is that legal? Can we go into that stuff?
Well, so the one thing that the legislature did immediately was they instantly passed a unanimous law. Every Republican and Democrat legislature voted yes, we must hide our real estate transactions from the public. So those are all protected documents. The fake governor, Katie Hobbs, who has a record for vetoing the most legislation maybe ever of any governor in the period of time, signed that instantly. Immediately signed that. Yes, all legislator documents, deeds of trust, that's all private. Let's hide that from the people of Arizona so we can't see the bribes that they're getting from the cartel. Let's make sure that's hidden and private. Anyways, so President Donald Trump says, drugs are still pouring into our country from Mexico and Canada at a very high and unacceptable levels. A large percentage of these drugs made up of in the form of fentanyl are supplied by China. More than 100,000 people died because these are dangerous and highly addictive poisons. Let's see. He goes on and says, we cannot allow this to continue to harm the USA. Therefore, until this stops or is limited, the proposed tariffs scheduled to go into effect on March 4th will indeed go into effect as scheduled. China will likewise be charged an additional 10% tariff on that date. The April reciprocal tariff date will remain in full force and effect. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America. So Trump is going forward with the tariffs.
So what about the tariffs that Canada charges us?
Well, that's a good question, but what exactly is Canada charging us on tariffs on? Is it molasses?
Well, they supply us with electricity, they have gas, natural gas, they supply oil. Their oil comes through there. They have a lot of things that they have some agricultural things, but I know I saw in one post that some of the tariffs that they impose on us are as much as 200%.
Well, that's interesting, but can we source any of that internally in the U.S.?
A lot of the stuff is sourced. I don't know why that we're going through Canada to buy it, because there's only a specific certain number of things that can be sourced through Canada, but we do that. We source it through Canada. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we have to. I think that especially like natural gas and oil, we have some of the largest reserves of natural gas and oil here in America. Why aren't we tapping that?
Drill, baby, drill.
Exactly. and
in the Gulf of America, that's where we're going to be drilling.
Well, and what was the reason why they changed the name?
Well, it's a better name, first of all.
Well, it represents America, but if you think about it, it's North America. It's not called the continent of Mexico. It's called the continent of America. So why would you have the Gulf of Mexico unless the continent was called Mexico? But the reason why it was changed was because Biden put into law that the United States it's illegal to drill for oil in the Gulf of Mexico.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. We changed the name. That's the reason why. That's the whole purpose, was to prevent us from drilling. So Biden put into effect trying to stop all of Trump's possible things. I mean, like, well, Trump was said, I'm going to bring down prices of everything. Well, what did Biden do? Killed all the chickens, so the price of eggs goes up. Mm-hmm. He killed all of these different... the
cattle, so the price of milk goes up.
Price of milk goes up. And they're trying to kill some more cattle on a fake bird flu. Mm-hmm. You've heard about the PCR test, the guy who invented the PCR
Oh, yeah, it was never intended for that purpose. And it's completely inaccurate in the way that they do it. It
was designed as a diagnostic tool, not an
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So what they're doing is they're using a PCR test. They're going
for bird flu?
For bird
they
flu.
use a PCR test? Well, that's garbage.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's completely inaccurate.
They go in, they'll test the chicken, they'll say, yep, this chicken has bird flu, we have to kill 10,000 chickens.
Or 6 million.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, they said, many people have said this, farmers on there said that if a chicken is getting the flu, let other chickens get the flu. The ones that survive are the ones that you want to keep breeding so that they're immune to that flu in the future.
Well, no wonder they're killing them. They don't want that immunity. They want an excuse to cull the food supply.
But what I find is interesting is in Mexico, there's no bird flu. Mm. There's no problem with eggs or milk or beef in Mexico. Why is that? Why is it only in America that the birds have problems?
Well, do you think that RFK Jr. is going to be able to do something about that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that he has some good intentions. Whether or not he's actually going to be able to do anything about it, it may be too far. It may be gone too far. We've called so much, stuff, just everything from out there. We've culled so much that how are we going to recover from this? I mean, we've got millions of chickens have been killed all over the United States. Millions of cows have been killed because of this bird flu. So, how are we going to recover from? We're going to have to import food for a while just so that we can be alive until our
Well, that's interesting because if you follow the money, who owns the import contracts? Who owns those farms in other countries that's bringing in beef? That's a big problem. If you go to Costco, even not that Costco is importing, but much of the beef in most grocery stores is imported. But Costco they're injecting all kind of junk into their beef. So many different places are doing that. So it is a really, really big problem. And maybe it's because the people that want it done own a financial interest in those producers of out of the country beef and poultry and everything else. Yes. And it's a good opportunity just to mention, if you're looking for American beef that doesn't have any hormones, any injections in it, riverbendranch.com/steak. riverbendranch.com/steak. I love it. It's really good American beef, Black Angus, no hormones, no antibiotics ever. Really great tasting stuff. So I just wanted to plug that. I do want to say hello. We've got 35 viewers online on the stream. Welcome to the MAGAMind Podcast. I'm Brian Ference, James Richard. Before we go into our next topic, since we were talking about RFK Jr., I did see that he canceled a contract that the government was going to buy, probably from Pfizer. I don't know what it was, 300,000 mRNA injections, or he paused the contract. He didn't cancel it, but he paused it. So it looks like RFK Jr. is trying to do some things, particularly things that will save money, like a useless kill shot that doesn't do anything except for cause cancer and infertility. So I applaud that. I want to see a lot more of that.
Have you heard of the new thing called saMRNA?
There's a new type. What is mRNA?
Well, it's spontaneous or not spontaneous, something or other activations. It's specific. It basically, I mean, I heard it this morning, so I didn't really do any investigation on it, but it basically, when you get the injections, then what it will do is it will automatically just like recreate. It's like creating a factory inside your body that you put S-mo. You didn't put any spacings.
It's okay. Of course, I put it into Grok 3.
Self-amplifying. That's
Yes.
the word. I knew there was something weird.
Self-amplifying mRNA. It's used in biotechnology. It's an advanced type of messenger RNA designed to not only instruct cells to produce a specific protein, but also to replicate itself within the cell. It's achieved by incorporating genetic sequences typically derived from viruses, like alpha viruses. This seems like more gene therapy. The self-amplification seems really, really bad.
Yeah, what I saw from this one little video that I saw, it basically was they inject it in there and they give it this self-amplification portion of the DNA, and then the extra portion of the DNA, which is the virus, will be carried along with it. So it self-replicates and goes into your cells and self-replicates, but it carries with that virus with it. So they could put any kind of thing in there and have that self-replicate throughout your whole body.
Wow.
And also, it will shed because it's self-replicating. All you have to do is get bodily fluids from another person. Kissing is one thing, and there's other things that will transfer fluids to another body. And when you do that, I mean, you're given the virus. Whatever it is they decide to do, you're automatically given it.
Wow.
And it replicates throughout your body, so you've got it. Whatever it was that they wanted to give that person, now you have it.
It's really concerning that they're messing with this stuff. Anything that's mRNA, I would encourage anyone, do not take that. They're using mRNA now for shingles vaccines. They're mixing regular flu and mRNA with COVID shots. They'll be mixed, and they're moving more and more and more to mRNA. I'm not a doctor, but there's many doctors that want it completely pulled off the market. It's not safe. Several of the doctors that were involved in the patenting and creation of it claim it's completely not safe. It's gene therapy. It's harmful. And
Harmful.
yeah, I'd like to see investigations. We need Nuremberg 2 hearings
Yes.
for crimes against humanity and genocide for everyone that was involved in pushing the kill shot, the COVID-19 kill shot. It's a massive genocide and spread infertility. They talk about the problem of birth rates dropping. It's really killed fertility, and it's really, really bad. And we need to have hearings, and people need to go to prison as a result of that.
That's the movie. They always tell you right up front. That's the TV show Utopia.
Yeah, you've mentioned about that. Basically, that's the plot line. That's what happened.
Of Utopia.
All right, let's go on to our next topic. Let's see. Let me show the screen again here. Oh, that's reloading. If it's going to load, then I'll show it. If it doesn't load, then I won't show it.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so this is an article about Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego benefiting from what's called smurfing contributions. And what that means is it's contributions that are fraudulent, that are in the name of someone who has not actually made that contribution. So really it's dark money, it's being money laundered, and it's primarily through Act Blue. So let me just click into this article real quick. If I recall, I believe it's Arizona Sun-Times that wrote this article, written by Rachel Alexander. Hey, Rachel, how's it going? And basically what it says is that election integrity researchers are expanding their investigation of politicians who benefited from smurfing campaign contributions. And one of them is Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego, who stole his election also, by the way, and is a communist with cartel ties. He received many of them. It clarifies smurfing refers to straw donors, so fake donors, to make campaign contributions, usually elderly and unemployed people who are unaware their identities are being used for money laundering. They can be small amounts, around $10, but they can be very, very frequent. I saw an interview before where they were, did you know that you gave $200,000 to Act Blue? And the person said, no, I don't even make that much money. It's impossible.
That's, James O'Keefe.
Yeah, James O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe, good. Mm-hmm. He did good stuff. James O'Keefe, shout out to him.
Yes.
He's done a lot of good stuff on that.
So anyways, they did a data run on the top Smurfs. It's funny that they're calling them that. They had them stolen, and that donated to Gallego's campaign. One of them is Chris Gleason, Philip Allison. They're all, let's see. Yeah, they had their identities stolen, and let's see if there's a comment here. Yeah, this is just a quick data run. It includes screenshots of campaign finance records showing a list of 20 individuals who contributed extremely large numbers of donations. Most of them did not live in Arizona. One example is Stephen Pilder in Pennsylvania contributed 2,004 times, averaging $6.37 for each donation. So $6.37 times 2,000, well,
that's a few dollars.
That's about over $12,000 there. So they're asking, where's the FEC? Why are they not looking into this? Well, the allegation is that the FEC is in on it. The FEC is compromised. They're all run through Act Blue, which is the fundraising platform. And this has been going on for a long time. James O'Keefe is mentioned. His investigation took several videos of him talking to the Smurfs. They're all elderly and retired people that they have lived modestly. They have no idea about it. So tell me about your reaction to this. What do you think?
Well, man, I can tell you this whole thing, Act Blue, I don't understand why Act Blue hasn't been brought up on charges already. I mean, they have multiple evidence. There's tons and tons of evidence out there that Act Blue was not doing things correctly. And then you get into what James O'Keefe was basically, he was really involved in this directly. I mean, he went directly into the places. Mm-hmm. I saw some of the videos that he did, and they're like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, no reaction as well.
Yeah, we don't care. We're fine with it. We're okay. That we're taking money we're depositing money into Act Blue in somebody else's name, but that's okay because we're fighting for democracy.
Right.
It's okay if we cheat if we're fighting for democracy.
Right.
You can kill somebody if it's for democracy.
That's their attitude exactly. Now I did see that. At the time, Senator Mark Rubio sent a letter, not that a letter is going to do much, to the FEC asking about the fact that Act Blue at the time didn't even require CCV numbers. So really, they're just stolen credit cards. That's how they're getting donation is stolen credit cards. Don't even require CCV, that 3 or 4 digit code on the back of the card. Don't require that. Finally, Act Blue agreed to start requiring them. And then a Texas Attorney General is petitioning the FEC to take immediate action to close these fundraising loopholes. But as of now, I don't think anything has been done still. So I would like to see the FBI and CIA investigate Act Blue and the FEC and just all these donation sites. I mean, it's clearly fraudulent. It's money laundering. I wonder if any of the money that was sent to Ukraine is coming back, and it's going into Act Blue. What do you think?
push your microphone down a little bit. You're hitting in the red. Push it just down. Just
okay.
Straight down. There you go.
That better?
Yeah, I think you're just hitting in the red, so I just don't want it to crack up. Well, I do agree. I think that Act Blues should be shut down, period. And before, we don't want to, we don't want them to be using their money nefariously. So let's shut them down, freeze everything, and then do an investigation on it. Because I think that some of these people, they're specifically doing.
Whoops, sorry about that. Keep going.
They're specifically doing things to subvert the rule of law, and everybody is like, well, the rule of law is democracy. No. We're in a republic. We're in a constitutional republic. The Constitution is the law, not this huge thing that they did for us. It's the Constitution is the law.
I agree completely on that.
And so we need to go back to constitutional law and not deal with this law that was rules that were created after the Constitution.
You're talking about the titles, and it's all these agreements that Washington, D.C. and the states made to lay on top of the Constitution and the state constitutions.
Right, exactly.
And those absolutely should be removed.
They should be. We should go back.
It creates a corporation instead of constitutional states.
The United States corporation is bankrupt. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what they're going to do because the United States corporation is bankrupt. So I don't know. We have to either go back to being a sovereign country, or we have to dissolve the corporation that is the United States, or we need to do something different. I don't know what else. I don't know what's next.
I'm for just dissolving the corporation, but that's a good segue, actually. So our next piece that we're going to talk about is recently the Maricopa Board of Supervisors met, and we're going to show a video in just a second here. I'm just going to set it up, though. But so one of the key complaints about the Maricopa Board of Supervisors is they hate public comment. They really don't like the public coming in and telling them they're corrupt, their elections are a disgrace, they're wasting money, they're sending money, millions of dollars, they're spending new contracts with Dominion. They made a large donation recently, the previous Board of Supervisors, to Black Lives Matter. They're just blowing money, corrupt elections, corruptions left and right. There's a lot of complaints that the current Maricopa County Recorder had a lot of his budget and his IT technical resources removed with a consent decree that the previous recorder made right after the election. But that's Stephen Richer, who's a treasonous rat who should be in prison. He made a consent agreement with the former Board of Supervisors. One of the members was what's his name? Galvin. Yeah, Thomas Galvin, I believe is his name. He's currently the chair of the Maricopa Board of Supervisors. So this video is going to talk about that. It's going to talk about specifically an issue where they don't want people to have public comment. I believe in this case there was an individual, Don Hyatt, who is wheelchair bound. Of course, there's no handicap parking anywhere near where the meetings are held downtown. So he had to park really far away and then travel on his wheelchair. And then I think he was like a few minutes late before the cutoff of submitting you have to request to speak and fill out a form and all this stuff. And then they did allow him, they said they were going to allow him to speak, but after four of 15 comments, so 15 people had signed up, Galvin just shut it down. He said, "This meeting's adjourned," which is, of course, a violation of open meeting law. It's a violation of free speech rights. So let me go ahead and share this. And all right, so this is a post by Christy Kelly, who's another reporter that also writes for the Arizona Sun-Times. And what she says is that the Maricopa Board of Supervisors meeting ended abruptly after the public sitting for 3 hours waiting to speak there were 19, sorry, I said 15, 19 speakers registered. The first 4 spoke, and then Thomas Galvin abruptly ended the meeting, citing too much yelling. The disagreement was over the disabled Don Hyatt, who actually ran for recorder. He wanted to speak because there's no handicap parking near the facility, which is probably also a violation. Anyways, let me show this video now. I'm going to maximize it. I turned down the audio on my speaker so we didn't get a...
Don't get an echo.
Yeah, echo. I forgot to do that before. Anyways, here we go. So
We can't hear it.
He got down here on his scooter and he came down so because the webinar is not made available so that he could speak. And you've all sat and watched the reaction of Mr. Galvin. You know how many hours he sat here? We get 2 minutes. He sat here for hours. He's denied that. Would one of you like to make a motion that he's allowed to speak? Yes or no?
Let him speak.
How many of you actually, I heard a lot about the law. First Amendment rights are being offended here. When you make it harder for people to speak, you're violating the law. When you make up rules, Marbury versus Madison and Miranda versus Arizona lets us know that your rules or your statutes or your laws that go against the Constitution are null and void. I'm asking you to do some studying before this next meeting, because if you have the same thing going on, you're also as guilty as Thomas Galvin.
Thank you, Ms. Shepard. Ms. Garza?
I would gladly give him.
Lori Baroni, Lumar Garza, Tom
just
Arnold.
wait for it. You're going to see him
I would
adjourn
like
the
to give
meeting.
Mr.
Thomas
Hyatt my
Galvin in the
speaking
center.
time.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hyatt. Come on down. Ms.
they're
Baroni,
discussing is-
you don't want to have a speaking spot. Okay,
Hyatt
you know
to
what?
wheelchair.
Stop. You know what? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Too much. Just too much. No screaming.
Yep, they didn't want to hear that. And you can see they're leaving. Yep. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. So let me switch back. All right. So, and I know, James, in our studio here, you didn't get to hear most of it, but I tried to narrate a little bit of it for you. So basically, the major issue is a couple things. One, it's a violation of open meeting law, violation of federal handicap regulations. They hate freedom of speech. They made a consent decree to limit what the current recorder, Justin Heap, can do to fix our elections. They don't want to hear any criticism. They don't want to hear any comments. It's a violation of Robert's Rules of Order to adjourn a meeting like that. You need to at least have it first and seconded, and then through unanimous consent or a vote. But the chairman cannot just say, this meeting's adjourned and everyone's out. That's a violation.
That's the Democratic way.
Well, he's supposedly a Republican, Thomas Galvin, but he acts like a Democrat.
Oh, because that's the Democratic way. If you don't get your way, you scream and yell and run away.
Well, if you saw, there were several uniformed, armed police officers there, and that is all to intimidate the public. They don't want people to come there, which is why they don't have any handicap parking anywhere near the building. They have very small auditorium, very limited. It's very restrictive to get in there. Of course, it's downtown. It's very hard to park to get in there. For a long time, they didn't allow any water bottles in the room because they didn't want a water bottle to be thrown at them because they were criminals. And now, again, this is the former Board of Supervisors, so there was an election. Many of the members are new. However, Thomas Galvin and what's his name? Oh, it's Gallardo or whatever. There's a Democrat on there, but 3 of the members are new. I hope that they're going to correct this behavior, because any of those 3 could have spoken up and say, I object to this meeting being adjourned. We want to hear the speakers. We want to hear the people that have been waiting here for 3 hours. We want to hear the handicapped gentleman, Don Hyatt, speak. And they were just silent. They didn't say anything. So I hope they learn from that. I hope that open meeting law violations are filed and lawsuits. Actually, I'm aware of a lawsuit against the Maricopa Board of Supervisors currently that is being filed by an individual because the Maricopa Board of Supervisors is refusing to turn over what's called the voter cast records. So every prior year after an election, something called the voter cast records has been turned over to representatives from the county and other groups, and that's been used to identify some of these statistics, like, we had 10,000 dead people vote, we had 2,000 illegal aliens vote in this election, because that's how you prove that. And that's why the Board of Supervisors is refusing to turn that over, because I suspect the last election, when Senator Gallego was elected, he did not win that election. There was illegal votes. If you look at the Social Security Administration, there was something like 20 million people who are dead collecting Social Security benefits. Well, I bet those 20 million people voted in the elections. I bet you they did. And what proves that is the voter cast records, which the current Maricopa Board of Supervisors is now, for the first time ever, not releasing so that it can't be proven.
Well, I mean, don't want to allow your criminal activities to be exposed, so since they're in charge, they can change the rules.
Well, what they're doing is they're doing a $400,000 audit of the Maricopa Board of Supervisors election, which they're running. So they're auditing themselves, investigating themselves. What do you think the result of that will be?
Oh, we did nothing wrong.
Exactly.
It's the same thing the FBI did. Well, the FBI did that same thing. We investigated ourselves, and we have proven that we did nothing wrong. So we're good. Exactly. You're the one that's the problem. You people out there, you peons out there, you people, we're professionals. We know what we're doing.
Well, that's the problem in government on a large scale. So I would encourage everyone to get the word out. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors meetings are in downtown Phoenix. They are the first. What is it? Let me see. Well, it's on their website, but I believe I have it. Here it is. First. I don't want to give you the wrong information. It says first and third. It's probably a certain day of the week of the month.
It's the 28th.
Yeah, so it's like the first and third week of the month. I forget the actual day, but it's posted on their website. Just search for Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, their schedule. The videos are recorded, live streamed and recorded, so you can see what goes on. You can see the mismanagement of funds. You can see the adjourning the meeting suddenly, not allowing people to speak, the discrimination against handicapped persons. You can see all of that.
It's crazy. And yes, and our government has more rules for us.
Well, I'd like to see less rules. I'd like we were talking about the corporation and the titles, those need to be removed.
Well, if you look at all of the taxes and licenses and permits, and we live in an absolute totalitarian society. We're not free at all. I mean, if there are things that you cannot say, you do not live in a free society.
Right.
And there are things that you cannot say.
You think we can ask for a refund of all the taxes that we paid in our entire lifetime? Seems like they were sending all that money just to, their own pockets, money laundering, USAID, Ukraine.
Well, they can just print millions and millions of dollars.
So but I'd like a refund of all the tax dollars
print some more money and give it back to us.
Sure.
I mean, they did that during COVID. They just printed some money and gave it out to people. This is a stimulus. Your dollar went from negative 98% down to negative 99%. So your value has gone down, but here's a stimulus to you.
Well, they're saying that the money that Doge is saving through government spending, they're saying maybe there'll be like a check coming to the American people. It's a big maybe. There's nothing committed, nothing for sure.
Yeah, I think that's all smoke and mirrors again. I don't think. And the other thing is that what's the purpose of giving us a rebate check when we really need to get all of this debt paid down? We're $36 trillion in debt and going up every single day by billions of dollars every week. Mm-hmm. And, why don't we get rid of that? So I'm not really, yes, I could use $5,000. Everybody could use $5,000. But the thing is that we have $36 trillion in debt. Now, your kids and your grandkids, you're not gonna have, they're not gonna have any country to live in anymore because $36 trillion in debt. We're broke. We're bankrupt right now.
Well,
so what are we gonna do?
So there's a savings clock and a debt clock.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Doge right now, I think, has saved, is it $100 billion that they've saved? But that's a drop in the bucket against, as you pointed out, 36 trillion.
Yeah, that's like what, less than 1%, 0.1% or something like that.
Well, I'd like to see us. We're talking about printing money. I'd like to see us move to the gold standard, but I'm not sure any of the gold is left in Fort Knox.
There's all kinds of memes out there with people with this gold spray and a brick.
Well, the interesting thing is there was a news story. I'd bring it up, but I don't have it handy. But it basically said, this is what it said. It said, because of the tariffs, because of the Trump tariffs, certain companies are flying in gold bars to New York to pay their tariffs. That doesn't seem typical. Do you pay your tariff with a gold bar? Or are the gold bars being flown in through New York because they need to backfill all the stolen gold bars out of Gold Knox, and that's just a convenient excuse to fly in a bunch of gold bars?
And why is it in New York and not is it coming into New York?
I don't know.
That seems odd that it would come through New York.
Where is Fort Knox located?
Fort Knox is...
We're going to have to look.
Spacing it. I did know at one time, but...
I'm going to ask my handy Grok 3.
Yes, it's kind of embarrassing that I don't even know where it is.
Oh, we're going to find out real quick. Yeah, if any of the viewers, if you wanted to comment, help us out, please do.
In Kentucky. That's what I thought.
Fort Knox is located in Kentucky, specifically 30 miles southwest of Louisville, near the towns of Radcliffe and Elizabethtown. The military post sits alongside the Ohio River. Interesting.
That's interesting. So still, it's a long ways away. Why is it coming in through New York if it's got to go all the way to Kentucky? You would think it would be coming in a port that was further south.
Well, it does say that it holds a large portion of the country's gold reserves, so maybe there's some gold reserves in New York also.
Could be. It's probably...
Let's ask.
It's probably our gold reserves are in other countries.
Wow. Like the Vatican?
Like the Vatican, yes.
Let's see.
Like London.
I believe that's true. Okay, so I'm asking, is there gold reserves in New York? And Grok says yes. There are gold reserves in New York. The Federal Reserve Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, located at 33 Liberty Street in Manhattan, houses one of the world's largest gold vaults.
But the Federal Reserve is a private company. It's not.
Wow.
The Federal Reserve Bank is not federal.
It says it holds approximately 497,000 gold bars. So that's quite a bit there.
Since we supposedly only have, 5,500
and
bars.
It says 2% of it is U.S. owned. The rest belongs to 36 foreign entities. Well, then, I guess that explains that. So we have 41 viewers right now.
Yay.
For those joining the show late, this is the MAGAMind Podcast. I'm Brian Ference. You can follow me at Brian Ference1, and I'm with James Richard. You can follow him at Sir Runcible Spoon. Please do comment and let us know any questions that you have. We also post these recordings on MAGAMindPodcast.com and on our Rumble. Please do follow us there as well. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer it. All right, James, what do you want to talk about before we close out the show? I think we've been going at it for a while now.
Close to an hour.
Close to an hour. What else do you want to discuss?
Well, I don't know. I kind of was really expecting today to be the time when things exploded because, we had been promised that there would be the release of the tapes, the release of the Epstein files and some tapes and some information, and all that was bogus.
Yes, it was.
That's what I kind of expected, just to see some kind of explosions going on but nothing's happened. It's sort of like Groundhog Day for the Epstein's files. Another day without the Epstein files.
Maybe you remember this. There was a really famous, I think it was with Geraldo Rivera, and it was the the vault or the tomb of some gangster.
Yeah. I remember that. I actually saw that on TV. God, that was
what was the name of the gangster?
It was. I could picture his face, but I can't remember. I'm a little foggy. Like my head is not feeling well today. I think I've been sprayed.
I know the chemtrails. They were spraying them above your house, right?
Yeah, it's. I'm allergic to aluminum. Like I can't use like regular deodorant with aluminum in it. So every time they spray over my house, my eyes just get.
Oh, was it Jimmy Hoffa?
That could have been.
I'm going to go with that. If that's what popped into my brain. I could ask Grok 3, but I'm not going to do it. I think it was Jimmy Hoffa's.
Yeah, I remember watching that. It was like stretched out over a week.
It was stretched out. It was a big, huge thing. Everyone was watching. I think it was Geraldo Rivera. And then when they revealed it, it was empty. It was just an empty room. There was nothing in there. And that's kind of like the Epstein Files Part 1 release.
Well, I actually think that there's going to be a big bank vault with the Epstein files in it, and it's going to be exactly the same. You open up that big bank vault, this is all the Epstein files, and it's empty. It's blank. It's because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. The people that own the country do not want you to know who is the problem.
Well, that's what people are saying, is they're saying it was this, worldwide, I think the word billion, the amount billions was thrown around, a worldwide billions enterprise, criminal enterprise, sex trafficking of children, of course, just at least 250 victims that have come forward, but it's thousands and thousands of victims. And the Johns, the client list is all world leaders. It's all millionaires, some very strong ties to the Clinton Foundation is what I'm hearing.
Careful on that, because you might get suicided.
Well, I just want to say that I am not suicidal, and I do not have any death wishes.
I'm not suicidal either.
But I was reading that the co-founder, guess who co-founded the precursor to the Clinton Foundation? Epstein.
Really?
Epstein was a co-founder of the precursor organization that became the Clinton Foundation.
Oh, I didn't know
That's
that.
a very strong tie.
Well,
to Bill and Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton and all the Clintons and their foundations and charities.
We're talking about the Epstein files, but they haven't even talked about releasing the Diddy files.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, you had allegedly a 14-year-old boy accusing Diddy of raping him, and then some money was exchanged, and then all charges dropped, were, just bought the silence. But there's lots of other victims. That's another thing that needs to be broken wide open. Where's the FBI on that?
Yeah. Where's the FBI on the $17 million slush fund that the Congress uses to hide sexual inaccuracies or God, I can't space in it today. The problems that, they had those, the slush fund that they used, $17 million paid off people.
That was hush money.
Hush money, yeah. Yeah, all that hush money to hush up people. Where's the FBI investigating? I want that investigated too.
Well, I think they should also investigate. There was one member of Congress that was found to be taking bribes, again, in an elaborate bribery scheme involving gold bars. The name escapes me right now, but that type of bribery is being used rampantly in Congress. All you have to do is look at what is their salary, and then they have net worths 10 times that salary. AOC is a good example. She was a broke bartender before coming to Congress, $200,000 a year salary. Now she's worth $20 million in a very short period of time. Where did that money come from? All their bank records need to be public. If you are a member of the legislature of Congress, all your bank records need to be made public. We need to look and have the FBI actively looking into bribery schemes, money appearing to their families, basically what the Biden crime family did. Selling influence, running it through family members. It's rampant everywhere, including in Arizona.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We have full transparency on us as citizens of the United States, but the government has no transparency. We need to change that. We need to have 100% transparency on the government and no.
We're no longer streaming on X. It looks like X shut us down potentially. We'll have to see what happened with that.
Oh, why did X? Oh,
You mentioned too many banned topics. Maybe let's see.
I probably did.
Let me look at this. Or keep talking though. Keep talking what you're on.
Yeah, it's. I think that we should have full transparency over our government, and that's the biggest thing, is that we have no transparency at all on our government.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. It looks like everything's okay, but for some reason our stream on X has come offline. Let's see. Let me just...
Yeah, it's gone.
It is gone. I wonder what happened. Let's see. Let's see if I can turn X off and then back on.
Saving. Yay.
An error occurred. Please try again. Unable to connect. Looks like we've been kicked off of X. We said some things they didn't like. I don't know. We're going to have to look into that. All right. Anything else that you want to discuss before we wrap up on the show?
No, I think we've lost part of our viewer group.
We did. We really did. So we're going to have to look into that.
I'm going to have to keep my subject matter to a more approved, less utilitarian subject matter, because we're being
censored. Potentially we're being censored. We're going to look into it.
All right. Well, it's been great fun, and I hope that everybody has a happy life, regardless of all of the crap that's going on. And one of the things that a lot of people have brought up, and I want to just say that expecting others to do as you wish is not selfish, or is selfish. Loving yourself and loving others and caring for yourself is not selfish. So if everybody says you're selfish because you want to do stuff for you, that's not selfish. That's caring for yourself. That's not selfishness. Expecting others to do what you want to do, that's selfishness. So I just want people to be out there to try to be happy, but take care of yourself, man. Got to take care of yourself.
Words of wisdom. Well, thank you to all our viewers. Again, this is the MAGAMind Podcast. Visit our website, magamindpodcast.com. Again, I'm Brian Ference. You can follow me on X at BrianFerence1 and James Richard at Sir Runcible Spoon. Thank you all. Have a good one, and God bless.